from Tess and I.
Sure,
and then I will make the introduction. So, thank you for joining us. My name's Sally Beck. I'm a mainstream media health journalist writing about alternative healthcare. And I set up this conference because I thought I've been researching alternative healthcare for over 20 years. And there's, you can make incredible changes for people, you know, people who think they can't get better actually can. So this is why I set up this conference, because the Daily Mail, bless them, although they've taken quite a lot of my pieces on healthcare, there's only so far they will go. So congratulations to everyone who made it past the censors. Who knew discussing functional and herbal medicine was such a reactionary pastime? But for some people, just buying a ticket and finding our website inaccessible at times was the first hurdle. But in doing that, you will have experienced the climate for our 5 speakers today. You know, they find themselves censored on many occasions. They've all faced sanctions for suggesting there are alternative ways to treat patients, but they never face sanctions from a patient. And that's what counts. It's all about the patient. It's not about the system. So today we have a really interesting list of topics relating to a better way to better health. So you'll find out about integrative medicine, what it's about, why it's important, what it's like for doctors using an integrative approach, and more importantly, what it's like for the patient, how a person's health can be improved immensely just by changing your diet, how to nurse sick children with natural interventions, and how to look after yourself when you're pregnant, how to look after yourself naturally when you're pregnant, and why honest doctors cannot practice honest medicine and what needs to change. But before we go to Tess, I'd just like to give a massive thank you to my co-organisers, Chiara De Micheli, Julie Gunn, Elle Taylor, and Rihanna Khan. And thanks for that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the fearless Dr. Tess Lawrie.
Thanks very much, Sally. It's a great pleasure to be here today, and I wish I was there in Zanzibar with you, but you know, the weather's not too bad here in Bath, so it's really great to be speaking with you today. And I'm going to just jump in and share my slides. So yeah, I've been putting a lot of thought into, and with many wonderful people around the world, what a better way looks like for a better world if we choose not to go the dystopian route that our authorities have set out for us. And I thought, you know, it's worth revisiting what being a doctor is about. And this is the Hippocratic Oath that I received when I graduated at the University of Witwatersrand. You can see its date on it's 1990. And many doctors these days say they don't actually take the Hippocratic Oath, but there's a whole lot of guidance that the General Medical Council gives that's called good clinical practice, good medical practice. That has a lot more detail. What is quite lovely about the Hippocratic Oath is it sums things up very simply. It includes, I will use treatment to help the sick according to my ability and judgment, but I will never use it to injure or wrong them. I will not give poison to anyone though asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a plan. And into whatsoever house I enter, I will do so to help the sick, keeping myself free from all intentional wrongdoing and harm. Now that is what, that last line was what led to the sort of commonly held I will, first do no harm. But that was the original that I received, and their various interpretations. Interestingly, it also includes a commitment to confidentiality. So, in the course of my practice, whatever I see or hear will not be published abroad, and I will not divulge this. Most importantly, to me, it considers healing an art, which is something that we have lost in allopathic medicine, in my opinion. So this, the Hippocratic Oath has come up a lot lately in connection with what doctors are and have been complicit in, I would say, with regard to the COVID strategies. And so it leads me on to the next document, which was also very relevant to the COVID strategies of the last 2 years, and this is the Nuremberg Code. The 20th of August was the 75th anniversary of the Nuremberg Code, and the Nuremberg Code was designed to. It was written after the atrocities of the Second World War that occurred in Nazi Germany as a result of experimentation on human subjects without their consent, and this, it was put together to prevent that from ever happening again. It had been preceded in the 1900s by other practices that included informed consent, but this was the first time that there was a document specifically stating 10 points. The first one is that it's essential that research participants voluntarily consent to participate, that research must be for the good of society, and the aim should be unobtainable by other methods or means of study, that research must be designed and based on the results of animal studies and the knowledge of the natural history of the problem under study. Research must avoid unnecessary suffering and injury, both physical and mental. No experiment should be conducted where serious injury or death are potential outcomes. The degree of risk to be taken should never exceed the anticipated benefits of the results. Research participants must be protected against the possibility of injury, disability, or death. Experiments should be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons. Human research participants must be able to discontinue their participation at any time, and scientists must be willing and able to terminate the experiment. So, this really is a wonderful document safeguarding the use of experimental interventions in human beings. And sadly, it's been totally disregarded. And the reasons for this are multifactorial. But suffice to say, a new approach is needed, because in the past 2 years, we've had a situation where interventions without evidence have been rolled out, have been implemented globally, and have led to huge amounts of suffering, both physical and mental. And in addition, we've had experimental interventions that have had insufficient evidence, and the very nature of their being experimental has been concealed almost from the public. So, in essence, we've had a massive experiment being conducted where no informed consent has been given or possible. And there are reasons for that, largely because the contents of these injections are unknown, and the nature and extent of adverse reactions are unknown, and so informed consent is not possible. So, as I say, how did we get to this point where we've had safe life-saving treatments withheld, we've had unsafe injections, the equivalent of poison, administered to men, women, and children, both sick and well. So if one thinks about the context of the Hippocratic Oath, you treat sick people, not well people. Where no informed consent has been given, where deceit, manipulation, and coercion has been used to achieve mass compliance, and where the intervention risks far exceed the benefits. And this human experiment is continuing. So clearly a new paradigm in health is needed. We need people to take responsibility for their own health and well-being. We need health guidance to be individualized, not a one health system, which is what the current World Health Organization is suggesting and trying to implement. We need a health seeker and a health guide relationship to be held sacred. And we need the health seeker to have a choice of modality and practitioner. The health guide's role needs to be supportive and not superior. And health seekers need to play an active role in optimizing health. Now, you see, I'm referring to patients as health seekers because the word patient itself seems to, in many ways, be it seems to remove the responsibility from the person who's seeking help, and also it seems to be a hierarchical relationship with the health provider, and suggests a vulnerability. And of course, a sick person is vulnerable, but in order to restore the balance, I think we need to rename these roles. So we need intermodality and practitioner referral and sharing of the art of healing to become the norm, recognizing the limitations in one's individual practice, and ensuring that the health seeker, the person needing to get well, has a range of options, and one is prepared to entertain that and refer. And then we need to change the emphasis from pharmaceutical medicine, from a disease-focused approach to a holistic approach, and using safe plant-based and natural medicines where necessary. So there's a better way, and what I've been engaged with doctors, experts, lawyers, activists around the world now is establishing an organization called the World Council for Health. The World Council for Health is a people-centered organization. We are run by the people. We're all just ordinary folk with different areas of expertise. And we have a number of voluntary committees. And our aim is really to empower people, to empower individuals towards better health, towards freedom, and towards engaging and claiming their sovereignty. So we have a couple of other brands, the Better Way Conference brand and Source, and these are all part of how we function, how we get our message out, how we activate and support people around the world. So our aim is to broaden public health awareness, knowledge, and wisdom. We want to empower collective responsibility for individual, community, and planetary well-being. And we want to activate inalienable rights and free will. We put the individual at the heart of our structure, and surrounded by their communities and then set in their countries and continents. And the World Council for Health really is a supportive role, which if the individual is truly empowered, we would no longer be necessary, because, you know, instead of wearing a t-shirt with World Council for Health, it would be I am my Council for Health. And that is what we would like everybody to be, their own Council for Health. Our values are freedom, community, integrity, transparency, and empowerment. So how World Council of Health came about was in 2021 with the British Ivermectin Recommendation Development Group, who found that there were safe, effective treatments for COVID that the public were not being told about, and these treatments were being withheld. So we formed a non-profit vehicle called EBMC Squared, which in turn initiated a project, the project World Council for Health, which was about really getting the message to the public and helping them make sense of what's going on, as well as empowering them to adopt a holistic approach to health. We held the Better Way conference in May this year, which was a great success. We had experts from around the world come and share their knowledge and present solutions as to a better way forward, not just to do with COVID and individual health, but also to do with the challenges faced by the environmental challenges, human rights challenges, and so on. So taking that forward, we've developed a platform called Source, which is really about activating health and sovereignty. And I will tell you a little bit more about that too. So this is our steering committee. We have a couple of new members joining from other countries, and there'll be news on that in due course. This is the team behind the World Council for Health, and there are, again, the team is expanding all the time, so we have new members joining. We currently have 160 coalition partners from 45 countries. Some of them are small groups, some of them are large groups. We're all growing and collaborating. And also just, you know, as a model for other groups wishing to collaborate, it's really important to recognize that groups are autonomous and we work together. We're a coalition. It's not, you don't have to agree. That is part of who we are as human beings, is we don't have to agree on everything. It's what we do agree on is a better way, and there's a better way forward for the world. That's our website, and there's we live stream our Monday meetings, and you can find those in the newsroom. We have many recordings of presentations that have been held in the newsroom from many international speakers whose names you would recognize. And so what are our objectives then as World Council for Health? It's to empower people to take responsibility for their health, freedom, and sovereignty. We want to raise awareness of the World Health Organization Pandemic Treaty, or called instrument, which is a threat. It's a great threat to individual and nation sovereignty. And this, the next so-called public participation event with them is in September, end of September. But they intend to have this treaty ratified by 2024, and it basically involves them having the power to declare an actual or potential health emergency, and then set the rules basically, and their constitution would supersede country constitutions, and they could then enforce lockdowns, etc. So it's definitely a big threat, and people need to be widely aware of it, and we need people to be lobbying their countries not to support this this treaty. In fact, not to support the WHO at all. It's done a very poor job in the last 2 years in guiding health for the world. Another objective is to transform the World Economic Forum's Great Reset into a Great Reset, because we see this as a great opportunity, this dystopian future that's been laid out for us with great surveillance and numerous injections and own nothing and be happy, seems to be not really ideal, to put it mildly. And so reframing it as a great reset, an opportunity for us really to get out of the cage that we've been kept in and create a better world is certainly something we can thank them for. We intend to and are in the process of developing a diplomatic forum and inclusive leadership network of people who subscribe to a better way and are working towards supporting communities and nations towards a better way. And we are preparing individuals and communities for healthy resilience in adversity, because we do think that there is some tough times ahead. How do we do all of this? We have media, we have the World Council for Health website, and we have the Source website coming soon. We have a number of outputs. We have a Better Way Charter, which I'll go into soon, but we produce statements in response to international events and press releases. We have a number of reports to support leaders and activists to do their work. For example, we have a pharmacovigilance report of the vaccines, which was released in June, which is a really accessible summary of the effects of the pharmacovigilance databases, and there's a short and long version, and it can be seen. It can be useful for unscientific people as well as scientists. So and a number of articles on how to get well, how to start living a healthy life, a more holistic approach to life. We have a lot of articles on mind health to help people at this time, because mental health is a real challenge, maintaining balance when there's so much cognitive dissonance and deception going on. We have in process a public emergency document coming. We have a number of campaigns, a Think Twice campaign, just to help people coax them into waking up to the possibility that things are not as they seem. We have a Stop the WHO campaign, and we have community preparedness resources. These are some of our flyers. If you've been feeling unwell since your COVID-19 vaccine, you're not alone. And the top flyer is, it has is how to treat COVID and some reassuring information on children's risk of COVID and natural immunity and so on. So this is an example of our live stream Monday meetings. Everyone's welcome to join. They're at 7 o'clock British summertime, and we have a variety of speakers from around the world and some discussion. We take questions from the newsroom, and these are generally very well attended, and they're a great way for people to start to get active, because there's information shared, and there are things that one can do then in one's community with that information. So just to mention the Better Way conference again, in the context of it leading to a platform called Source, which is a free information portal to empower individuals and communities, created for those people really wanting to get active. What can I do? And because World Council for Health is an organization, coalition, Source is a platform for individuals who want to take part, do something, help to build a better way. And we're launching initially in the UK and Ireland, but there will be a lot of resources on this website that will be useful for everybody and accessible to everybody. It contains a directory and a map to find practitioners, holistic practitioners, and source ambassadors are people in communities who will have a whole lot of resources that can be shared as hard copies, and a point of reference for people seeking help or seeking a better way. Also to other community support groups like Stand in the Parks, and to health hubs. We have dedicated campaigns to get active on the website, so you can find leaflets that's to suit your campaign, and distribute those in your neighborhoods. And then the community preparedness resources include guidance on emergency preparedness, education, finance, food and water security, health and well-being, and sovereignty. We encourage source users. As I say, we are very much informed by the people in the grassroots. So all the information that we receive gets processed in some way, or adapted, or used just as is, and goes up on this website. There's just the amazing initiatives that are taking place in communities, and we encourage people to send in these resources, because we see ourselves really as messengers, because we are receiving this great information, and we're in a position to be able to share it and let others access it. We do ask users to subscribe to the Better Way Charter. So what is the Better Way Charter? Now, this was one of the outputs of the Better Way conference, and it consists of 7 principles. The first one: we act in honor and do no harm. Now, this comes from natural law, and we had a number of speakers speaking about natural law at the Better Way conference. And I think what's really important about this, especially in the context of medicine and healthcare, is that we've had this idea that doctors are the ones who have to do no harm. When in actual fact, as we've seen with this, they're as capable of doing harm as anyone else. It's really everybody's responsibility to do no harm, and it's absolutely vital in a society where we are, turning to a paradigm of holistic health, of a disease prevention, and rather than cure, that we all do no harm as to the best of our ability. Obviously, we all make mistakes, and we all do things that are not necessarily in our best interests. But if we act in honor and do no harm to the best of our ability, we would be really a long way towards creating a better world. Number 2 is we are free beings with free will. Now, I think we must be the only beings on this earth that have free will. We have choice, and it's our duty to use that choice responsibly. So, but in any event, we take responsibility for and control of our lives, our choices, and our health. We are from nature, and we're part of nature, and so I think we've become separate from nature. We live in cities which are very hostile places, actually, more and more. We live in a very hostile environment if you live in a city or an apartment, in a flat or whatever. So it's time to recognize that we are part of nature. We need to get back to nature. We need to spend time in nature, and we need to recognize that we and the earth are interdependent. We need to be healthy. We need a healthy planet, and both need to be nurtured. spirituality is integral to our well-being, we've become very materialistic, and we've been told that we'll be happy if we have stuff, or do something, and instead of recognizing that in actual fact we've always been spiritual. We thrive when life has a meaning and when we have a purpose. So we need to get back to that sense of living life with conscious meaning and a higher purpose, and recognizing that this is a journey and we're here to grow and evolve. We thrive together. So we don't thrive when we live in a little flat all by ourselves and we're 80 years old, and in many societies when you're 80, certainly in the older societies, the older generations were the elders, their wisdom was valued, and families stayed together. So we need to recognize that we value collaboration, we value being together, and we thrive together, actually. We celebrate respectful discussion as a means to ever more refined knowledge, compassion, and wisdom. It's okay to disagree. We don't have to all agree. We all have different perspectives, and it doesn't matter who's right. Sometimes it's impossible to tell because we're always judging things from our own perspective. So we value different perspectives, and this is how we grow and learn. And we use technology respectfully. So technology obviously has the ability to be exploited to our disadvantage. And so we recognize that technology used respectfully will enhance learning and wisdom to benefit people and the planet. So these are the 7 principles of a better way. We also note that we do not tolerate the violation of people's inalienable rights and freedoms, and that profit, power, and influence will not be tolerated coming before the well-being of human beings on the planet. So we've got quite a long way to go, because I think many people have forgotten that we actually have inalienable rights. We have the right, the freedom to speak, we have freedom of movement and travel, we are free to assemble. We're born free and fearless, and we need to take that back. So what are the upcoming events with World Council for Health? We have Better Way Conference in Austria, which is a media conference. It's all the new media, and also a medical conference. There's a one-day medical conference and a 2-day media conference, and a rally and some other nice events happening in Austria the 15th to the 19th of September. We have the Better Way, the Source launch also in September. We have a Better Way UK Doctors Conference on the 15th of October. There's the FLCCC conference, which is FLCCC is the Frontline Critical Care Alliance in the US, who are partners with World Council for Health, and their conference is the 15th to 17th of October. And we have the Iberian Congress on Pandemic Management at the end of October in Portugal. Just on a personal note, it's really important for each and every one of us to do what we can in terms of raising awareness of integrative medicine, of holistic approaches to health, and helping people to step away from fear. I have a Substack and do a podcast once a week called Tess Talks, and really raising awareness of holistic health and a holistic, engaged way of living. And I hope that's of interest to people. So there you go. Let's co-create a better way together, and see COVID as an opportunity for this really great change not for the faint-hearted, but certainly for those wishing to be free and healthy and autonomous. Thank you.
Thanks, Tess. It'd be great if you could stop. Oh, that's it. Lovely. Thank you so much for that. That was really heartfelt, and I really appreciate it. Some of the things that you were talking about, I'd just like to really drill down into a bit more. And so when you're talking about healing a person, not an illness, what does that look like for the patient?
Well, firstly, as I said, I don't really like to call people patients because it immediately means they also have to wait a long time for their treatment. Well, it's taking responsibility for health is a huge thing, and I think a lot of poor health comes from really not recognizing that that everything we do impacts health. So past traumas and experiences can lead to poor health, and so when one's I'm not a clinician, I have to say, but when one is looking at health and or feeling unwell, you really have to stop, and there certainly might be a lot of work to be done to establish the cause of the problem. But fundamentally, I think we all have the ability to heal ourselves if we can do that work to understand what the cause of the problem is. And then, as I say, I see the health practitioner really being in a supportive role to get somebody well. Obviously, for many people who have been on a lot of pharmaceutical drugs for a long time, they have serious chronic conditions. So I'm not saying that somebody who's unwell, who's been on a lot of medication for a long time, can simply walk away from that. But I do think there's the potential to be completely well, even if you have been on a lot of medication in the past. I think there is a route to wellness that is achievable for many people. And just this week at the World Council for Health General Assembly meeting, Dr. Paul Marek said that he was a type 2 diabetic, and he is no longer, because of dietary changes that he's made. And so certainly if he can do it, then everyone can do it, because he's been very much into allopathic medicine. He's been an ICU doctor, pulmonary specialist, and relied on pharmaceuticals to treat people, as well as and so so I think we've really got to relook at it. And just if you think about nature and you think about animals, they get themselves well. They live and they get themselves well. They're part of nature, and we are part of nature too. So this dependency that we've developed on these pharmaceutical products, it's arguably never been necessary. And I'm not sure that we can show that longevity and quality of life has been improved in any way by taking medication. I think to improve health, you have to get to the root cause of the problem and make adaptations. We seem to think that we don't have to change. If we get sick, we just take something, we go to the doctor and get something to fix us. Well, we need to get rid of that, or at least explore that idea and say, is this really true? is our body, if we're sick, our body not telling us that something needs changing? And so we need to stop and consider what the cause of this illness is, and be prepared to make changes, not just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually been in a doctor's surgery, but from memory, the consultation isn't about getting to the root cause. It's about finding your symptoms and giving you medication that will control those symptoms. It's not about getting any medicine that will cure you. And I think our society doesn't appreciate what's happening in your emotional life, or like you said, past trauma can affect your health. And spirituality came up in your talk as well. What does spirituality look like when it comes to maintaining good health?
Well, I think it's been shown quite well now that people who have spiritual practices tend to be less anxious, less depressed, are able to balance, have more balance and peace. And, just something like meditation every day, just clearing the mind. We seem to be, as a society, very keen on these words, anxiety and depression and worry. And we all worry about things that have been in the past, and we worry about things that are coming. And we very seldom are able to just be in the now without worries. And so there's obviously different types of spirituality. But be it whether one has a religious belief that sustains you in a more formal way, or whether you're just able to connect, have quiet time every day where you're in nature and are able to feel peace and balance without thoughts rushing around your head. These are the practices that keep us balanced. Certainly I can say for myself, I'm not sort of in a formal religion of any sort, but I have a spirituality. I believe in God, and I believe that we're here for purpose, and we're on a journey, and we're here to explore the wonder and beauty of everything. And so and that sustains me. So, and I think I think we've become this very materialistic, and certainly we are regarded as consumers by those seeking to exploit us. And so we're marketed these ideas that the things that we have or get are going to make us happy, and so happiness becomes an illusion, and very hard to achieve, because if it's rooted in that material thing, where then it's a kind of a false. Sorry, I'm not expressing myself very well, but
I know what you mean. Yeah. So
I just feel it's very, very important to have a purpose and meaning, even if it's doing something for somebody else every day. It's that human connection, belief that we are all connected, and that there is a greater force.
Yeah. Before I go to the questions in the chat, one of the reasons that we are in Zanzibar is to build our ideal functional inpatient clinic. Can you tell me what your ideal integrative clinic would contain for inpatients?
Well, I would say, it would be great to have an allopathic doctors trained in naturopathy, or working alongside other types of healers, homeopaths, chiropractors, midwives, a whole range of and modalities as well. So I've recently also learned or been learning more about frequency medicine as well, and as a new way of both diagnosing and treating or preventing disease.
Can you explain what frequency medicine is?
Well, it's probably, I'm probably not the best person to do it, but basically it involves it's quantum medicine. So it measures frequencies of different cells in your body, and it can detect which ones are functioning suboptimally. It seems to be able to do this ahead of illness. And so treatments also based on frequency. I mean, sound is a frequency, for example. So, so it's a frequency then is able to heal or restore health to those cells that are not functioning well. And I know I'm not explaining it very well, but I would urge you to, if you're interested, to look at some of our interviews with Dr. Stefan Becker, who is an orthopedic surgeon in Austria, and he has been using this modality and has a number of clinics using this modality. And he's seeing great results, especially he's been using it for COVID and for vaccine injured people. So I think there's a great opportunity now to look at both older or marginalized or less mainstream methods of healing, as well as new modalities, especially in the context of the new and emerging diseases we're seeing with the post-vaccine injuries.
And does he use a bioresonance machine? Is that how he would start?
I'm not sure, Sally. I think I would just refer you to him. Oh. The technology is called also Vital Fields, is also seems to be what he is using. So there's Vital Fields technology.
Well, I do know that the first PhD students in the UK graduated last October in quantum biology, and it's an extremely new field, and I think the UK is one of 2 places in the world you can study quantum biology. So we are taking it to a nano level, but not in the way that maybe the pharmaceutical companies are using nano. In the chat, thank you everybody for your input. Julia is planning an integrative cancer treatment centre in Cornwall, because she knows that lots of cancer patients have relapsed throughout the last 2 years. And she's wondering what advice you could give to her to open a facility like that, or where could she go for help?
The starting point, I think, is to gather the people in the community. We need to be, we're basically all pioneering, and I think we need to get active in our community, put a call out, find out who, who would be interested in working in such a facility. And it's okay to start small. I think, especially when setting up something new, it might not be possible to have, all the, to have a fantastic facility, or, but I think if you just start small and say, this is what I'm doing, who's interested in joining me? and let it develop from there. Because if you set the goal as needing X amount of money and X amount of equipment and investors, etc., it will be much harder to get it off the ground. We need to use people power now. That's the one thing that we're not short of. There's so many talented people, and there's such huge resources in our communities that are untapped, and many people wondering, what to do now. And so you need to really start working together with like-minded people and be prepared to start small, and it will grow.
That's really interesting, because before I came here, I had found a place in Cornwall. So a functional medicine inpatient clinic has been an ambition of mine since probably I started talking to MMR injured families with MMR injured children. And we did find somewhere. It was 106 acres, so it definitely wasn't small. But there was a potential there. What's the legislation like facing people who want to step away from allopathic when it comes to inpatient? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about it, but what I do know is that the rules and regulations that we have put up with all this time are not conducive to to holistic health. So we really need to just decide what it is we want, and I feel the rules and regulations will change. They will have to adapt. Yeah.
The beauty about being here is that 80 to 90% of Zanzibaris and Tanzanians use traditional and alternative medicine, and the health ministry here will not allow allopathic and TAM in the same facility. So they have to be completely separate, which is a delight for us. One of the healers we've spoken to, who will be talking tomorrow, was taught by his grandfather, and he didn't go to school to learn the medicine that he knows. But as you'll see from the case studies that we filmed for tomorrow, you can do amazing things just with plant-based medicine. But what he says is, we don't have certificates. We would like to get together with the doctors who are working in modern medicine facilities, and to stop arguing. We can learn from you, and you can definitely learn from us. And we seem a long way off that for the moment. But hopefully that will come. We've got Hugh McCarthy here.
I think it comes also, if I could just say, from trust. So, we need to individually decide who we trust so we have to do our own research. As health seekers, we need to do our own research and decide who we are going to trust. And the great thing about plant-based medicine is that there's less risk of harm. And so, you might say, well, something didn't work. Okay, well, did it harm you? No. But with the pharmaceuticals these days, it seems like there's a great risk of harm. So I think as long as people do their own research and are informed about what they are taking, and they trust the person who is helping them with their health, then then we're a long way there. It's really about empowerment, and we've got to move away from the system of expectation and blame, because the person who is sick has a responsibility to get well too.
Well, Dr. Sarah Myhill, who's just joined us, will be talking much more about that hello Sarah, in the next talk. But in the meantime, Hugh McCarthy, who is a former head teacher, he's based in Northern Ireland, and he's just wondering, Tess, if you're in contact with medical professionals in Northern Ireland because he says Northern Ireland really does need to change their ethos.
Yes, I'm not sure that I have. I'm in contact with a number of doctors and health professionals in Ireland, but I'm not in Northern Ireland actually. So if you wanted to connect me with some doctors there, I'd be happy to.
Well, I can connect you both after the conference if it's all right to share emails.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And then we've got the lovely June Tranmer here, who is the People's Health Alliance Pediatric Advocate. And she is saying, we have hundreds of hubs around the country doing the same thing as your groups are doing, it seems. She's part of the team in York organising such a hub. And she's saying she'd love to work with anyone else who is coming from the same place as you share the same policies and aims. Have you made connection with the People's Health Alliance?
Yes. Now, anybody who's got a People's Health Alliance, because we're not actually putting these hubs together. What we're doing is we're mapping them and we're connecting people. So if you have a People's Health Alliance, please do sign up and map it on our map. On Source, and ultimately we want to have all the hubs, all the community groups mapped so that people can find their tribe and find help if they need it.
Thanks, Tess. We're down to the last 2 minutes, so I'm going to ask you one more question. What difference have you seen alternative healthcare make to patients?
Well, I have said to you that I'm not clinical, so I'm not practicing clinically. But it would really be, from anecdotal perspective that I can say that I know a number of people who've turned away from mainstream medicine and looked to holistic healing practices and have found success in various things that have been, non-invasive and much, and also a lot and dietary. So yeah, all I can say is I have, I'm very aware. I'm on a learning journey too because I come from an allopathic background. So I certainly don't have the knowledge and wisdom of Dr. Myhill and Dr. White. But I'm fully aware that I have a lot to learn about alternative, I prefer to call it holistic therapies.
Well, thank you so much, Tess. That was, really enjoyed the talk and we really appreciate you taking the time. Next time, we took the conference online because of aircraft insecurity. We could see that all our doctors could end up being stranded in Doha. But next time, hopefully we'll charter a plane and get you all here. Because I know, making the connections is what everybody really wants to do. So I'm sorry we're not all in a room together, but I feel it's been quite intimate over the last hour. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody else, we are going to take a little 15-minute break. So Sarah Myhill is going to be talking at 12:15. Oh, well, it's 12:15 our time. It's 10:15 your time, I think. So it gives you a chance to go make a cup of tea, let the dog out, whatever you need to do, and we'll be back soon.
Okay.
So thanks. And I might come back about 5 minutes early. I just really like to get some feedback from everyone. We'll unmute everyone and just have a little chat ourselves. Okay. So see you in a bit.